Welcome. I'm Weiser Cornell, and this is a webinar called The Urge to Indulge. And that's about changing the habits that you'd like to change and still being kind to yourself. Here we are. This is The Urge to Indulge. And I'm Weiser Cornell, the president and CEO of Focusing Resources and the co-creator of Interrelationship Focusing. And my latest book is 21 Days to Better Boundaries. And here's what we're going to do today. We're going to discover that you can be kind to yourself, even if there's something in your behavior that you want to change. And we'll find out how kindness actually works better than self-blame, much better than self-blame for changing your life. And we're going to learn a powerful method for moving into a new relationship with the part of you that reaches for the cookie or whatever it is, whatever it's a cookie or whatever it is, and the part of you that makes you feel bad for doing it. So the part that reaches for that, the part that makes you feel bad for doing it, you are not either one of those parts. We're going to move into a new relationship. So take a moment with me right now and ask yourself, what is it? What activity or substance is the biggest temptation for you? Or what is the habit that you'd like to change? Maybe it's staying up late, past the time that you really felt you needed to get to bed in order to have a healthier life and a happy day the next day. Or maybe it's something you eat or drink, or something you are in the habit of scrolling or screening or something like that. So what is it that you find yourself taken over by the urge to do that? And the second question I have for you, is there a time of day when you are the most vulnerable to this? Maybe that's not really relevant, maybe because if it's about staying up late, then of course that's the time of day. But in other ways, like, is it late afternoon when that urge to eat something sweet is almost, well, often irresistible? So what's the time of day? Is there a time of day? Or is there another time, like when your mother calls or when your boss has just told you something about your work? And let me ask you this. Do you ever scold yourself or shame yourself to try to control this behavior? How do you talk to yourself? What's your self-talk like to try to control this behavior? So now let's talk about kindness. Like, what would be wrong with treating yourself with kindness? There might be a worry that if you're kind to yourself, that kindness is the same as letting yourself do the behavior. But you know what's interesting? The behavior's happening anyway. And so being kind to yourself is like giving yourself love. Even though there is this behavior that I feel frustrated about, helpless over, that I wish would change, but it doesn't seem to change, I still love myself. Let's pause a moment and just see if that makes sense and if that would be possible for you, right? I can give myself kindness and love no matter what. And for some people, the habit that we're talking about has an impact on your body. You might have more pounds on your body than you wish you did. But your body is still lovable, and your body is still lovable. You are still lovable in whatever body you are in. So let's just take a moment to consider that possibility. And notice what difference that makes. If you ever kind of beat yourself up, shame yourself, scold yourself, you shouldn't have eaten that second dessert last night. You are self-indulgent, bad, so on. Or if you love yourself, loving yourself is not the same as saying that you agree with all the choices that part of you makes. Can you feel that difference? So everything we do is about increasing your ability to be kind and self-loving towards yourself. And so let's get interested in what's happening when kindness can change the pattern. There's a picture I really like. Do you ever find yourself in that kind of situation? Feeling like you're deciding between an unhealthy or a healthy food choice? So, yeah, what is going on when the urge to indulge takes over? Well, who is it who's doing that behavior? Who is it? And notice we talk like this as if it's me. I eat junk food. I eat junk food. My hand was in the cookie box already. I stay up late on the internet reading about the latest political outrages. It seems like it's me that does it. And certainly I take responsibility for it. It is not anybody else who's doing it. But I also find myself saying something like, I can't get myself to stop. So I can't get myself to stop eating junk food. Well, so do we have two eyes in that case? Is there the I that's eating it and the other I that's trying to get myself to stop? So, what I'm going to say here is that I think it's fairly important to distinguish yourself from your parts. And so, if we take a step back into the larger self, then we would use this language. Something in me eats junk food. Try that out. If you've got a sentence, you could say, something in me, da 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 da. Something in me had my hand in the cookie box already. Something in me stays up late on the internet reading about the latest political outrages. And I am saying hello to all that. So this is the language that lets us create inner relationship. If I say something in me eats junk food and I say hello to that, I'm creating a relationship. And it's a relationship of kindness and curiosity and welcome. And relationship is what really brings change. So I'm going to say a little more what I mean by relationship by talking about identification and disidentification. So identification is when this is who I am. This is my identity. I eat junk food, right? I am a junk food eater. And we're not different then. It doesn't feel like we're different from the part that's doing it. That's identification. But disidentification is this is part of me. I am bigger than this. Something in me eats junk food. So then we have a relationship with whatever it is instead of feeling that it's all of us. And it's in that difference, it's in that relationship that change, organic change, change that arises, change that isn't shamed or blamed or pushed. It's change through possibility. That's what becomes available when I say something in me eats junk food and I say hello to that. Okay? So I'm inviting you to try this with me right now. Take your urge to indulge situation and say, something in me does that. You would start with a sentence like, I do that. And then you change it to, something in me does that. And notice, did that make a difference already? What happened when you said, something in me does it? Okay, now, yeah, you fill in the blank. Now, say an inner hello to this part of you. Something in me does that, stays up late, watches that, binges on that. And I'm saying hello to that. I'm saying hello to that. Hello is so nice because it's friendly and it starts a conversation. We don't know where we're going from here, but we're starting with hello. Let's see what happens when you try that. So now that you've said hello to something in you that does that behavior, see if you can be curious about what's really going on for it. And notice if that's kind of new, right? Most of us at first, when we realize that something in me is doing the behavior, then our next step is to start blaming that part of us, feeling bad about it, feeling kind of low, kind of self-critical. What if instead we get curious? And maybe you already had an idea about why this part of you is eating or drinking or watching or whatever it is it's doing. You might have already had I know why that is. It's comfort food. It's stress eating, right? Invite you to let that go for now. Whatever you already knew about the reasons for that, let it go for now. And let's turn toward it and say, hello, I'm actually wanting to get to know you better. Whatever it is in you that's doing that behavior, we say, hello, I'm here to get to know you better. I want to know what it's like for you when you reach for that or do that. And then wait and see what happens. Being curious is huge. Being curious instead of judgmental, instead of, I already know why that is. It's huge. Well, but instead of being curious, were you disgusted, disappointed, frustrated, displeased? Was it something like that? Is it hard to be curious? Because just notice. Maybe something in you calls this part out of control or weak or disgusting. This is a weak part of me. This is an out of control part of me. Let's see if we can also disidentify from that one in you that says those things or has those thoughts. So we've got the part that does it. And then we have another part that says, that's disgusting. That's so indulgent. You're so weak. Okay. But wait a minute. Something in me does it, and something else in me doesn't like it. And I am not either of those. I'm the big space. I'm the big space. So being separate from both the sides is really important. I love that cartoon by my friend Mary Ferris, a focuser. So if you are not this one and you are not this one, you can hold both of them and be curious. Be curious. So I thought maybe we would give that a longer try and take you through a longer process. First, I want to check in with you. Like, how is it for you what I've been saying so far? How was it to disidentify from the part that does the behavior, saying something in me does it? And how was it to turn toward the other one that frustrated and helpless about this trying to change it and uses this blaming because it's so helpless? What I've discovered is that self-critical, self-blaming parts of us usually feel helpless. It's pretty important to realize that. Okay, some people are saying in the chat that it was a relief. It makes sense and it gives some inner space. Wonderful. That's good to hear. Somebody wrote, my teeth unclenched. Yes, you can really tell when your body relaxes, and I'm getting some reactions from people. But Jane wrote, it's difficult to feel it and be curious. I get busy doing anything rather than the thing I need to do. So you are realizing something important there, that the getting busy is maybe one of these things that we want to say hello to. Not I get busy, but something in me gets busy. And I'm saying hello to that. I think the something that gets busy might be the one that needs some attention first. And I'm hearing from some people that found it difficult to get to know the part that does the behavior. Well, good, because we're going to do a longer exercise on that together. Someone wrote, I knew about saying hello to parts, but I never thought there was something in me making the choice. But I do feel I have no control sometimes, right? Well, that feeling of being not in control, to me, is the feeling of the part having taken over. And that's something that Barbara McGavin and I call hijack. When we're taken over by a part that wants to do this behavior, whatever it is, whether it's get busy or scroll through a lot of screens or eat or drink something, suddenly we find ourselves doing it. I did that for a number of years with alcohol. Wake up in the morning saying, well, I don't have a drinking problem, but today I won't drink. And then quite a number of those days at 5 p.m., I'd find myself on the way to the liquor store. And it felt like I just got taken over by the wanting to buy the bottle of wine. It didn't feel like a decision or a choice. And I really had to, with the help of Barbara McGavin, develop a whole way of being with different sides and parts of me with this kind of curiosity and kindness. It's really from that I developed the method I'm showing you today. So let's go through a bit of a longer process right now. You're going to have a little more time and space to do what we're talking about. Let's start by having you settle into where you're sitting right now. And maybe take a couple of breaths if you want to, and to really feel your body supported by what you're sitting on. You might be standing or lying down, but most people are sitting. And in any case, you can feel your body supported by what it's in contact with. And then notice your feet, your seat, your back. Just become aware of the places in your body where you're in contact. And begin also to be aware in that inner area of your body. So the inner area that includes your throat, your chest, stomach, belly area. And if you're aware of something in your body right now that's tight or tense, take a moment to say hello to that. Just practice your gentle hello, I know you're there, without trying to blame or shame. Just hello. Hello. And then remember that sentence we found before, something in me does the behavior, does it? Something in me eats, drinks, stays up late, whatever it is. Use a simple, non-pejorative language, just simply describing the behavior as it is. Something in me goes to buy the bottle of wine at 5 o'clock. And then invite that into awareness. Like, I want to get to know that something in me that does that. And notice what you become aware of when you do that. You may see an image, get a feeling, be drawn to a certain area of your body. I want to get to know the something in me that does that. And I'm here. I'm here to say hello to something in me that does that behavior. So whatever you've become aware of is welcome. You can even imagine that you can talk to the part of you that does the behavior. It's here somewhere. But let's also say hello to another part of you, a part that can get very worried about this, that's worried it's out of control, that's worried you won't be able to meet your goals for a healthy life, something like that. So we're saying hello to both, something that does it and something that's worried about you doing it. Just take a moment to do that. I say hello to something in me that does it and to something worried about me doing it or doing it so much and so on. And both are there, and I am here with both. So that language helps to hold the whole picture, and both are there, and I am here with both. And let's see if it's possible to turn toward the one that does the behavior with simple curiosity. There's something that it wants for me from doing that behavior. When I was drinking more than was good for me, I wasn't in touch with the part that did it at all. But when I finally began doing some focusing with this process, I discovered the part of me that wanted to drink wanted for me to be able to relax quickly. It wanted me to be more spontaneous and more creative. So that's why we're asking the part that does the behavior what it wants for you from doing that. And don't answer, just wait, right? Let the answer come. It may pop up what it wants for you from doing that. Maybe it wants you to go blank and not be driven crazy by the stresses in your life. Maybe it wants you to create a hole that you can burrow into and be protected. Asking it what it wants for you from doing that. And then not arguing with it, right? Whatever it says, we're just going to say, oh, that's what it is for you. I hear that. I hear that. Notice what happens if you don't argue with it. You just hear it. I hear that's what you want from me. You might feel a kind of shift in your body when you do this. There's no predicting what will happen, but we're noticing. We're simply noticing. Okay, we're going to complete this process for now, this little process, and come back thanking your body and thanking the parts that have been with you. Begin to be aware in the room around you again. Perhaps make a few notes about what you noticed or let us know in the chat. Obviously, we didn't get to spend time with the other part, the one that's worried about it. So this had to be necessarily a short exercise. But it begins to give you a taste, I believe, for what might happen when you are simply curious. Curiosity is the opposite of blame and shame. When I'm simply curious, I'm coming from my biggest self. We call it self in presence. And what did you discover? Did something surprise you? Well, I'd like to take a moment to tell you about my new course. And after that, we're going to say more about this and take another step, because one of the other keys is the importance of your emotions in the urge to indulge process. So I have a 3-week course on this same topic. So in that course, we'll be able to take more time than we have today. This is a taste, where that's a fuller meal. It's going to be starting in 2 weeks from today at the same time as this webinar. So if you could be here live, then you can do that one. January 22 and 29 and February 5th. And also it's on 3 Mondays from 2 to 4 p.m. Pacific time. And in that course, you'll learn how to recognize when you're taken over by the urge to indulge and what to do then. That does not involve shaming or criticizing yourself. You'll learn how to bring kindness and compassion to yourself, even when there's something about you that you want to change. In other words, blaming yourself is not a good way to change yourself. And you can change yourself better through kindness and compassion. And move into a new relationship with both the part that reaches for the cookie and the part that wants to make you feel bad for doing it. And there's also a difference between a habit and a hijack. And what is that difference? We'll learn to recognize that difference. And then we'll cultivate our ability to be present to uncomfortable emotions, so we don't need to distract ourselves from them. And that is one of the keys, is the uncomfortable emotions and the need to distract ourselves from them. So in that course, we'll meet on Zoom. It will be like this, only it's a Zoom meeting, which means everybody can see everybody and we can interact more. Whereas this is a webinar, so you can only see me. And there's course handouts. I take you through 6 guided exercises during the 3 weeks. And all the exercises are in the handouts, plus a lot of information and stories that I've learned in working with this process with myself and other people. So I'm the teacher, and you have live interactive access to me all the time on the course platform and even by email. I would love to see you there if it fits for you. And partly what we're doing here is giving you a taste so you can tell whether the further course might be useful to you. Mary wrote in the chat, it's helpful to explain that curiosity is the opposite of blame and shame. That's right. It's very true. I love curiosity. But we can't just force ourselves to be curious. Sometimes, if all we feel is blame and upset and frustration and helplessness, then we say hello to that. And so the stages of moving where we are now into the stage of curiosity, there are steps for that. And it pretty much always involves acknowledging what's true, feeling and acknowledging how it is right now, which takes me to my next topic for today, which is about emotion. So how is emotion involved in this whole pattern that we're talking about today? Probably involved in your urge to indulge, there is some kind of unwanted feeling. And take a moment to ask yourself whether that might be true. Something like boredom, anxiety, anger, worry, sadness, pain, discomfort, or whatever. Fill in the blank. Something in me doesn't want to feel this way. So, and there's something I could even call a war over emotions. It's often a war over emotions that's at the heart of the urge to indulge. So here's some examples of emotion wars. I don't want to feel sad, right? If you say, I don't want to feel sad, you're feeling sad. And you have a part that doesn't want to feel sad. So that's an emotion war. I'm tired of feeling so anxious. Do you see? There's an anxious feeling and there's a tired of anxious feeling. And they're at war with each other. War is a pretty strong word. Maybe we can say an inner conflict, but still, you know, I would say no wonder something would reach for a chocolate brownie rather than be caught in the pain of that inner conflict. I wish I didn't have so much anger and resentment in me. Well, there's anger and resentment, and there's the wishing it wasn't there. So if we have a new kind of relationship with feelings, something new can happen because the struggle to not feel is so exhausting. And it could come from an old belief that if you allow yourself to feel what you feel, your feelings will take you over and you'll be overwhelmed. But your feelings don't have to take you over. That's the cool thing. When you just feel and you don't fight with or run from how you feel, you've crossed over a huge barrier. Because something in me feels that way. Something in me feels angry or resentful or tired or anxious. And I am saying hello to that. And that makes you the big spacious presence where your feelings can be as they are. So I would love to see you at that course where we will explore this whole thing about changing our relationship with emotions and cultivating the ability to be self in presence. So what I feel has been happening when I found myself walking to the liquor store to buy a bottle of wine. So at first it was once a week, then it became twice a week, then it became 3 days a week. And I felt an inner struggle all day long. This is not a good idea. I don't want to be this person. But when I was walking to the liquor store, I was at peace. Does that happen for you? Whatever it is you do you find a kind of peace that comes when you're doing it? Someone wrote, what if I can't stop feeling? Well, let me tell you something I've learned about emotions. They're called emotion for some good reason. It's because they're always in motion. It's the nature of emotion to change. Emotions move through us as long as we allow them to. If I turn toward my anger and I sit with it and I say, wow, to this part of me that's angry, I get how angry you are. Tell me more. And in a minute, it's not angry, it's disappointed. Or it's not angry, it's sad. And then I'm with sad. And then maybe it takes more than a minute. There's a next step and a next step. Emotion is always on its way to something else unless we don't feel it. Then it stays the same. So if you've got emotions that are staying the same year after year, they're probably in exile. They haven't been allowed to be felt. My teacher, Eugene Gendlin, said, what is felt changes. When it is not felt, it stays the same. See what else people are writing in the chat. How do you remove the anxiety? Well, it starts by saying hello and being curious. And then you ask it, what's getting it so anxious? And let it tell you. Let it tell you. And then let it know you hear that. And let it tell you what gets it anxious about that. So there's a relationship of listening. And at some point, you will probably discover that there are some things you're anxious about that can't be changed. And there's other things you're anxious about that you can do something about. And before they're felt, you can't even make that distinction. Marcy writes, staying busy keeps me from feeling a certain inner fear, and it's hard to stop and be curious and listen to it. Yes, it is. I acknowledge that this is hard. I acknowledge all of you for your courage to be doing this work, for being here, for being engaged with this question. It takes courage. But it also feels good ultimately in your body, because to separate yourself from how you feel, that's a war against yourself. When you turn toward, and I hope you've had a taste of that today, that when you turn toward how you feel and say, I know you're there, I get you, I know it feels that way. I mean, just remember a time when you said to someone else how you were feeling. And if you're lucky, there was a time you told someone else how you were feeling and you got back from that person, oh yeah, I hear you. That is hard. That is tough what you're up against. See, I didn't have that happen in my childhood, or very rarely, because my mother was one of these, oh, well, look on the bright side. But it's at least not this bad. And so that was very nice of her. She was trying to keep me from feeling bad, just like the part that wants to eat the chocolate is. But I wanted, deep down, your body wants somebody to say, I'm with you. I get that that's hard. And you can offer that kind of kindness to yourself. See, that's ultimately kindness, that you can say to yourself, I get that this is hard. I get that when you watch the news, the whole world feels out of control and crazy. I hear that. That is hard. I get a breath right there. We haven't solved the problem, but at least somebody heard me. And that's what our bodies are yearning for, really. That somebody meets us, that somebody says, I'm here with you. I get how that is. Well, it's been lovely to be with you today. Thanks so much for your listening, and thanks especially for your kindness to yourself. Keep on treating yourself with embracing love. You and every part of you are doing your best.